Hi, welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And today you might notice a new angle. And there's a reason for that because I have a guest. It's my very first guest. And I would like to welcome my lovely, beautiful, sweet, funny daughter, Bailey.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, so we're awkward because this is the first time we've done this, but this is my audience.
Hi, audience.
Yeah. So today, Bailey's joining me because we're going to talk about imagination. And I thought this was a really good topic. I came up with it before we decided for her to be my guest, and it's just perfect because she has a wild imagination.
They sure do.
Yeah, okay. So, we're gonna be talking about harnessing our imagination in recovery, and specifically constructive imagination versus emotional imagination. And some of these different types of imagination, so there's 8 types of imagination, and some of these just remind me of you.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask Bailey some questions, and it's kind of nice to say your name because I don't say people's names on my podcast.
Yes, name reveal. My name's Bailey.
Yeah. It's a cute name.
Name reveal and face reveal.
We got the name in the boy book, in the boy name book, boy baby name book.
Mm-hmm.
Boy.
It was a boy's
baby
name handbook.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. So our imagination isn't just a tool for creativity. My job was a marketing director, so I feel that I'm very creative. Do you think you're very creative?
I think in some ways I'm creative.
Yeah? Okay. Well, it is also a critical component of our mental health and recovery process.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to lean forward towards you guys in the audience so that I can move my script, or else I'm not going to be able to keep my train of thought going. So, first of all, understanding imagination. Imagination fills our gaps in our knowledge, and it crafts future scenarios. Scenarios. You say scenario and I'll say scenario the whole time. And it helps us to empathize with others. It extends our experiences and our thoughts and helps us to make sense of uncertainties in our life. So whenever we can't finish the story, we use our imaginations to finish the story. So when I first, over the past 10 months, I have been finishing this story of mine as to what's going to happen with me in recovery. So I left my job 10 months ago and I went through a lot of grief, and I didn't know what my purpose was and all that stuff. And I was finishing the story in a very negative way. And that was impacting my mental health. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. We can use our imagination for good, which right now I'm using my imagination to think about all of the great things that I can do because I don't have a job. And I can do hobbies and I can sew things. That's my new hobby, which I never thought I would love. And different kinds of stuff like that. So as I become more positive when I'm working with my psychiatrist, my imagination starts to shift towards a more positive thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah? Yeah. So today, you'll talk in a minute.
Oh, please, do your thing.
Okay. I'm a talker, so... So today we're going to look at the different types of imagination and discuss how they can either positively or negatively impact our recovery. I think I already said that, but that's okay. We can repeat ourselves here. We can do whatever the hell we want.
Whatever the hell we want.
Okay, so we're going to start with the first one, and I'm going to talk about what this type of imagination is And you are going, well, just see what happens.
See what happens.
We're just
gonna
go
with the flow.
We're going to see what happens. So the first one is effectuative imagination. Can you say that for me?
Effectuative imagination.
There we go. So this type of imagination integrates existing ideas from about what we know to form new ideas. So in recovery, this can be beneficial to enable individuals to integrate past sober experiences to overcome current challenges. So an example is when I first got sober, it was really challenging for me to go to my first wedding sober, to go to my first happy hour sober. And then when I was able to do it, then I had that past experience. Mm-hmm. And so I knew the next time I went to a happy hour, I'm like, well, I already did this once, so I can do it. So I could actually be getting ready to do something, and my imagination would be more positive about how the experience was going to go because I already did it before. So I was basing my new ideas on what already existed. But it can be very risky because I can use my imagination to think about before I got sober, mm-hmm. and how, I really had a lot of fun when I would go to these happy hours and I was drinking. I remember this happened and I remember that happened. It was so amazing. And I start romanticizing the drink, and that could potentially lead to a relapse. In stroke recovery, what I find myself doing is imagining things based on what I used to do. I just realized the microphone's not plugged in, but that's okay. We're just gonna use the computer microphone.
Is that gonna be good enough?
It's just gonna sound hollow.
Okay.
So we apologize for it being hollow.
We apologize for the hollowness.
Moving on. So in stroke recovery, I think about everything I used to know, which was I used to go kayaking. I used to do it. So it's kind of working against me in that respect. When I'm thinking about what I used to be able to do and stuff, I need to stop imagining what I used to do that I could physically do and start using my creative imagination, constructive imagination, which we'll get to think about new things that I can do now. So now you're on the spot here. Okay. So can you think of a way that maybe this effectuative imagination may have helped you or hurt you in the past?
I feel like a lot of my imagination, when I need to use it as a tool, mm-hmm. usually deals with my anxiety. So, mm-hmm. like, I'll think about, like, say for work, I have to drive 2 hours, and I've been doing it repeatedly now, so I can use my imagination, like, this has been successful thus far. Mm-hmm. Why would it not be the same today? Why would you have anxiety today? So then that helps me. I'm like, oh, I got this.
Yeah. So yeah,
but then thing. There's other times where I go somewhere and I feel a panic attack coming on, and then the next time I drive somewhere similar or a similar distance, and I kind of trick my mind into thinking, well, that happened this time, it's probably going to happen again, and you're probably going to freak out again.
Yeah.
So,
do you want to tell everybody briefly what experience you had driving with your anxiety? That's why you have this issue.
Sure. When I was in college, I was a freshman in college, and I was driving, and I had been drinking the night before. I would say quite heavily.
Were you loaded?
Sure. For lack of better term, I was loaded. And
we laugh about that now.
And I drove the next day. It was an hour, and I was driving from my hometown to my college, and I was about 15 minutes into the drive, and I started getting dizzy, and I started hyperventilating, and I felt like I was having a heart attack, basically, and I pulled over, and I called an ambulance because I thought I was going to die. Little did I know I was just having a panic attack.
But it feels like you're dying.
But it felt like I was dying. It felt like my stomach was like in a tiny little ball.
And your hands cramped.
My hands started cramping. And I saw, when I was on the phone with 911, I saw an ambulance driving on the other side of the highway, and I rolled down my window and I stuck my claw out of the window and waved it.
You're like,
to try and get their attention. So then I had 2 ambulances behind me, and they just told me, "You're fine. You're just nervous," or something.
Yeah.
But so now I take medication for anxiety, and I don't have those problems. I've had like panic attacks like that probably twice since then, and that was in 2019. It's 2024, so I think that's a good thing. Don't you think?
It is, and I think the more we experience, we get through these things without experiencing the negative stuff, it allows us to envision things going well. Yeah, I think that's a really good example. Okay, so the next type of imagination, did I say there's 8 of them?
Yes.
There's 8 of them. So. The next one is intellectual, or otherwise known as constructive imagination. So this one is used for developing hypotheses based on the available information in front of us. And this form of imagination is critical for planning in long-term recovery, planning strategies and figuring out, like imagining what we are capable of with what we have. So the danger of this intellectual imagination is over-analyzing. And that reminds me of somebody.
That's me.
Analysis paralysis, over-analyzing, becoming too rigid, and that can lead to a lot of stress.
Sure.
And resistance to adaptive change. Wow.
That almost seems perfect for me.
It does. And I'd never even planned on her being a guest when I put this script together. So I would love to just hand it over to you.
Okay.
And I'd love to hear about when you are in a situation, think of a situation where something is about to change. Okay. Something really important to you is about to change, and how you might be using your imagination to envision something going badly.
Yeah, sure. I'll take it from here. So we moved. We moved from. Have you said the location?
Yeah.
All right, just making sure we're not about to get a stalker or something. But we lived in Charlestown, West Virginia, and now we live. And now we live in Sterling, Virginia. I want you to be the one to say it. So that's an hour away from each other, and I was 18 when we moved, so all of the friends I've made, I was in this headspace like, these are my friends for the rest of my life. Like, why are you taking me away from my friends?
It didn't matter what I said.
Yeah, I got very angry, and I have never been the type of person to like change, and I like things to stay the same, because if if there's a little bit of change, and that's with everything in my life.
Everything.
Like, whenever if there's any little plan, like, hey, we're gonna go out to dinner to this place, and then last minute it changes, I freak out. I'm like, well, I just spent 12 hours preparing to eat noodles, but now I have to eat sushi. So I'm just kind of a little nervous wreck with those things. So when my mother told me that we'd be moving, I wasn't very happy because I thought that I would lose all of my friends and they would never come to see me. And I'm like trying to think now of what I was even worried about.
Right. Because she was basing her hypothesis on what was right in front of her. And what was right in front of her is that she had a house that she grew up on, not on. She didn't grow up on it. She was in it the whole time. I swear I'm a good mom. And she said she was gonna miss her childhood home. She was gonna miss her friends. So all that was right in front of her was what she had known. Everything you knew. And
it was like none of my other friends were moving. Everyone was staying in the same place. So it didn't feel normal to me to be the person to move away.
But what she was not able to see was what I can see because I'm a 49-year-old woman now, which is that's how life changes like that.
Yeah, no, it's like
people move.
We don't have to change it if we don't want to.
In different directions, but we do have to change.
Yeah, and now I am glad that it happened. I think I have grown from that. I guess. I don't know.
What does my husband say about change? Do you remember? She doesn't remember. As soon as you start to accept that things are going to change, as soon as you accept change, your life's going to be so much happier.
Yeah, I don't know, I've always been able to like have fun with myself and like do things on my own. And I think I loved always being around my same friends every single day, but I think going to a new place, it was kind of exciting. I didn't think about how exciting it could be to go to a new place, especially someplace that I always ask my mom to take me to on the weekends, because Sterling, there's everything here.
Yeah.
So like I didn't think about how exciting that would be to drive to the mall whenever I wanted.
Right.
And just do stuff on my own. And I met new people. I didn't think that was going to happen. I met new friends.
So I think it's important to put this in the context of recovery, which is that's what a lot of us do in recovery. When we have a stroke or when we're going into sobriety, is that we're basing everything, our imagination, our thoughts about the future and stuff, on what we already know, and not accepting that things are going to be how can things be good? Because things are changing. Change is bad, and that's just not the case. And as soon as I have been able to start embracing this idea that maybe I can have more fun and be happier after my stroke than before my stroke, have I started to actually be positive over the past 2 weeks. So there you have it. The next one is imaginative fantasy.
Ooh, fantasizing. This sounds exciting.
This type allows for creating new ideas or escaping reality.
What are we about to dive into?
It can offer mental breaks or new perspectives in recovery, but it can also lead to denial of real world problems if not balanced with reality. So in a positive way, imaginative fantasy, in my opinion, helps us to meditate. And you don't meditate, right?
No.
Right. So I'm trying. But when we, like for me, I meditate twice a day, which means I turn on the Calm app and I lay there. And the guy,
This is not sponsored, by the way.
I wish it was. So they'll talk about a scenario. You know, it depends on what I'm listening to, but I use my imagination in order to calm down, to give myself a mental break and to calm down and escape from where I am. It's a much healthier way for me to escape than what I used to do, which was drink wine 24/7. That was my escape. So I was trying to bring imaginative fantasy into the real world and just never deal with the real world.
I feel like I don't really deal with the real world very often. I try, like, I don't know. I try and stay in my own little bubble.
Right.
Which could be a bad thing because, like, I'm not 100% aware of the happenings.
World issues.
Yeah, the happenings in the world.
Yeah. I mean, when I say real world problems, I don't necessarily mean the world.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Like my own individual
today,
problems.
real world.
Yeah, I just feel like with this type of imagination, I don't really find myself, like, needing to escape my problems until my problems are, like, already there and I have to face them. Like, the only real, like, major problem I deal... Like, there's so many problems, you know.
Yeah, there are a lot of problems.
But whenever... If you were to ask me, like, what problems do you deal with? The first thing I would think about is my anxiety. And, like, I can't really pretend like it's not happening. I can't really fantasize, like, oh, you're having a panic attack. Just think about something else.
Well, but you can. You can try to meditate.
Like during it?
Yeah.
I just kind of... I guess one way that maybe I do use this kind of thing is, like, when I do feel myself starting to get...
Yeah.
Like, paranoid or hyperventilating, I just say, no, you're not. It's like kind of...
You make it up. Like,
yeah.
You're escaping.
Yeah, I just tell myself, like, no, you're not. Stop. You're fine. I just tell myself no.
Yeah, I mean, if
that applies.
I think it does. I mean, if we didn't have our imagination, you wouldn't be able to convince yourself of something else. You know, you wouldn't be able to even imagine that everything is fine. Because all you would be basing on everything you know, which was the previous one. Right? So I think, or no, that's the one. Yeah, the previous one, intellectual based on what you know. So I think you actually are using imaginative fantasy. Fantasy makes it seem like it's negative. Like you're
like I'm just like, la-di-da.
Yeah, exactly.
Not any issues.
All right, next we have empathy. Empathy involves understanding other people's feelings. So this is crucial for building support networks and recovery. But, and I talked about this, I think last week, excessive empathy without boundaries can lead to emotional exhaustion or neglect of one's own needs. So I talked last week about a friend of mine who lost her husband to suicide. And what I ended up not sleeping an entire night because I put myself in her shoes. I just was so disturbed by her loss. She has kids, and I just was like feeling it's like I wanted to make her feel better and take some of her pain away. But me taking the pain isn't affecting her. So I'm up all night feeling like I'm, grieving for her when I'm not really affecting her at all. I'm only making myself sick and not sleep and stuff. How do you feel about empathy? Do you have any issues with empathy, or you feel... I know you're empathetic.
Yeah, I think what do you think?
care.
What do you think?
I mean, you care about other people and what they're going through. And if somebody like me, okay, this is a great example. So
That's what I was gonna
yeah,
say.
we spent the day together today, and Bailey, like, we went to the Roadrunners store to check out some shoes, some running shoes. She's running 7 miles, I think, is the longest we've done so far.
Yeah,
And so
job's not done.
so after we did that, we went outside and sat on the curb for like 10 minutes. And you were like, yeah, that's fine. That's totally fine. And there were times throughout the day. We went to Joann's Fabrics, we went to dinner, and we took breaks in between. I took a nap. But every so often throughout the day, Bailey walked up to me and she was like, hey, how you doing? I mean, she does it sarcastically a little bit, but she means it too.
Yeah.
How you doing? And she's just looking at me. But she's doing that because she's thinking about how I feel. You're being empathetic.
Yeah.
And do you ever make yourself sick being empathetic?
I don't think so. I guess I kind of think about, like, with calling you, and I stopped calling a lot because I didn't really want to feel any pain that you were dealing with. It's not that I wasn't supporting you or that I'm not there for you. Like, if you obviously ever needed to call, I wouldn't just hit decline.
Yeah.
But I think maybe, I don't know, I just didn't really want to put myself in a situation where I'd have to think about what you're going through.
You didn't want to feel it.
Yeah. And I'm still like that. I still don't really like to think about it. I just kind of push it to the side. So I guess I don't think I, like,
maybe you're using imaginative fantasy.
I probably am with that. I'm just pretending that it's not happening. I think empathy, I think I empathize in a healthy way. Because that I'm going out of my way to make sure I'm not feeling the depths of everything. But maybe to a fault.
Yeah, maybe.
So, there's positives and negatives to everything.
Let's move on to the next one. Okay, next is strategic imagination. This type of imagination involves envisioning multiple future scenarios. It's beneficial for preparing for potential challenges, but it can induce anxiety if the focus is too heavy on negative outcomes. For me, this is what ifing. And I don't know. I what if like crazy.
I what if.
I know you what if. Constantly what if. So I've talked about this before. When I worked for with my brother and my dad, there was my brother had a mentor and what do you call that?
Mentee.
Was a mentor, and then it was like his whoever held his position at the other company that bought us. I can't think of what that's called. I know you're thinking of it, but I can't think of what it's called.
I'm not thinking of it.
Anywho, the guy said, because my brother would like think of like stress, like just stress about all these things that could happen with the company, and he would play through every single scenario, and the guy said, what did he say? My mind went blank. The guy said that you have to have trust in that you have the foundational knowledge and intelligence to handle any situation that comes as it comes, rather than imagining what's going to happen, in this scenario, that scenario. You just kind of let life happen and know that you've got what it takes. And if you don't have what it takes, then you say, I don't know. I don't know how to handle it. And you work and you grow and you get better.
This has recently been something that's helped me with my anxiety in the car. I think when I start freaking out, I think, what if I do freak out? Like, what if I'm about to have a panic attack? Or what if I don't make it home? The reality of it is, you're going to make it home at some point.
Yeah.
And even if you do have a panic attack, like, you will be home somehow.
Yeah.
Whether you freaked out on the way or you didn't. There's no point in what ifing if the same outcome is going to happen.
Right. That's true. Okay, now we're moving on to emotional imagination. So, sorry. The same thing happened right now that happened yesterday with my computer, and the whole thing shut down and stopped recording. So we had to pick up exactly where we left off.
But I bet you didn't notice a difference.
No, you didn't notice
a difference. She seamlessly edited
my hair is even in the same way.
I haven't moved in 30 minutes.
Okay, next is emotional imagination. So our emotional, you know what? I'm leaning forward though, and before I was leaning back.
Yeah, don't mess that up.
Okay. Anyway, our secret is spoiled. So our emotional imagination extends emotional experiences into scenarios, which can be used to emotionally prepare for difficult situations. The risk is that it may also lead to overwhelming feelings of negative scenarios and are imagined without control. It could be how our imagination goes wild as family members of stroke survivors or alcoholics try to, again, it's like piecing the story or finishing the story. So what I was thinking of as this goes is when I had my stroke and you hadn't seen me yet. Mm-hmm. And I was in critical, what is it?
Condition?
Critical care. I see you. Intensive care. I was in intensive care in the hospital. And you guys actually got to come in and see me, which they don't usually do. And it was during COVID too, so I could only have a certain amount of visitors. And I don't know, was your imagination going wild?
Well,
what did you think?
I just thought, like, what is going on? And I thought you were gonna die, basically. That was where my first thought was like, oh, something's wrong, she's probably gonna die.
Ugh. Because that's what we have faced so much in our family. Yeah?
I just, like, I don't know, I have this, like, whatever happens with this stroke, she cannot die. That can't happen. But, like, that was a possibility. Like, very small, but it was a possibility, so...
It was a possibility.
Since it was a possibility, that was immediately what I thought was
it was happen. Straight up a possibility. And I don't think I realized that. I don't know that I truly have, like, digested that or that it really was a life threatening event. Yeah. I mean, all it took was where the stroke happened. Mm-hmm. That's all that mattered, you know? And I'm lucky where it happened. And then I have these two other ones that... So, I don't know. I'm lucky, you know? But I think my imagination, when my emotions and my imagination combine, it's like a terrible, terrible pairing.
I mean, and even since the stroke, I, like... When I allow myself to think about it, then I start spiraling and I'm like, well, what if she has another one and then she's just even worse? Like, if it's a possibility for her to have a stroke, who's to say it's not going to happen again? Or what about me? Does this run in my family now?
Right.
Am I going to have a stroke? Like,
we do need to get you tested for the factor 5 leading. Remember I talked to you about? I have factor 5 leading, which leans individuals more towards a clot, towards their blood clotting. So I was on birth control also, which also leans an individual towards clotting. And then I got the vaccine.
Yeah.
So anyway, they advised me to get you tested for factor 5 leading.
Okay.
So we need to do that. They just draw 13 vials of blood. That's all. I don't know. They did for me, but that was
a lot of blood.
That was because I was getting tested for every disease on Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll do that. It's not so much an issue with my son as it is my daughter, he said. So
great.
I thought that was interesting. So
I'm having emotional imagination right
now. No, but you'll be fine.
Yeah, all right.
You're fine. You're fine. Okay. So I probably shouldn't have told you that because now
we already talked about it.
It's gonna be too. Yeah?
You've mentioned it to me before.
Okay. All right. So we're okay.
I'm just being dramatic.
All right. We're okay. I just started panicking that I told you something because she'll stress out. She'll stress out.
I'm fine. I'm cool.
She's not going to sleep tonight. Okay. Number 7 is, and while you were talking, I actually almost yawned. That's how long it took me to try to fix the file thing.
I thought you were going to say, speaking of yawns.
Yeah, speaking of yawns, the next one is dreams. So, while largely uncontrollable, our dreams can influence our emotional state and offer insights into subconscious thoughts. And I'll just tell you, I can't tell you how many times I've thought about my husband, boyfriend at the time, having interactions with other women. That's how much I dream about it all the time.
I've been having, and I've talked to my significant other
about this,
that I've been having, and I have always had weird ass dreams. Like bad ones too. Like I got tased recently in my dream. She's always dying in my dreams.
I'm always dying.
She's always dying.
Or drinking.
But mostly dying.
It used to be drinking, but now it's dying.
You've always died.
You've always died.
And I don't know why that is. I feel like I need to go like to a dream therapist or something because I'm always having crazy dreams.
I have a feeling what you need to do is go to a therapist and talk about the fact that your mother had a stroke. I think you're just holding on to emotions that you haven't released yet. I don't think you truly believe that I'm going to be okay.
Yeah. I used to go to therapy, everyone, but then I stopped because I graduated. And now I have to pay to do it. So it's not worth it, apparently, to me. But
isn't it funny? Like, we'll go to the doctor to take care of our body, but we won't go to the doctor to take care of our mind.
No, it's not.
All right.
Maybe I have bad juju.
I don't know. We keep trying to record and it keeps stopping, so I'm just gonna keep piecing it together because that's what we do here.
You will get this episode.
Oh yeah, you will, no matter what.
That's how dedicated she is.
No matter what happens, I'm telling you. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I need a new computer. I need a supercomputer. I'm taking donations. You can write into Rachel at recoverydailypodcast.com.
Are you actually taking donations?
No, I mean, yeah, people can give me stuff, but...
People can always give you
stuff. Yeah. Okay, we're going to move on. So we were talking about dreams. I just wanted to say, for dreams, so drinking dreams is a big thing when you stop drinking. And you wouldn't know that, but when people stop drinking, they start dreaming about drinking, and it can become very disturbing. And I still have drinking dreams, but I have somehow my subconscious has figured out that I'm dreaming, And so sometimes I will actually acknowledge in my dream that it is okay to drink in my dream. But I have never actually taken a drink in my dream. Never.
I don't think you can consume in your dream.
I mean, have you ever eaten anything in your dream?
And I've seen that before. Like, I don't think you can consume. People just don't really consume anything. That's probably not true. There's probably someone out there that's eating a burger in their dream.
It could be. But what's interesting, so what happened to me after recently, after I left my job, is that I had a dream that I've had a couple dreams. One that I had spasticity in my hand. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's like, and I apologize to anybody who has it, and I don't explain this correctly, but basically what I understand is that your muscles tighten and you can't unclench.
Oh.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, like in whatever form, but you can't.
Oh, yeah, I have seen
and so people massage it out, but it can happen.
Oh gosh.
Doesn't it sound terrible? It sounds terrible. It sounds like a cramp that never goes away. That's what it sounds like to me.
Were you gonna say you've had dreams like that?
Yeah, I had a dream that happened to my hand.
I've had dreams. There's something about having dreams where you just can't function properly. Like if I'm running, I can't. Either I'm running really slow or I like can't find a rhythm. Like I don't know how to run.
Yeah.
Or like when you want to scream or something, you don't make any sound.
Yeah.
All sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I find that I go through a lot of struggles in my dreams. That I actually hurt my hips when I did the Avon walk for breast cancer. We're gonna say Nana. I've never said her name, but we're gonna call it Nana.
That's what she is.
That's her name, Nana. I did a Avon walk, and I walked 26 miles in a day, and my hips are injured. They've never been the same. Anyway, when I'm sleeping, my hips hurt, so I have dreams that I can't walk, and the way that my brain has resolved it is I roller skate. So most every night now I'm roller skating in my dreams.
Wow.
Because I can't walk in my dreams because my hips hurt.
That's really weird.
So now I roller skate. Almost every night I'm roller skating.
That's really strange.
It's the truth. That's a secret. I don't think I've ever told anybody that.
I've never heard you say that before.
I may have told my husband that, but it's true. True fact. Okay, moving on. We're on the last one. We are going to get through this. The last one is memory reconstruction. And I haven't even looked at the script to see what this one is about. So, memory reconstruction. Our memories are not always accurate, interestingly enough, and are reconstructed based on our current beliefs and emotions. Does that make a lot of sense to you?
I'm just thinking.
You're nodding and thinking. So in recovery, this can be used to foster positive identity, but it can also distort reality, leading to misconceptions about one's progress or challenges. I'm thinking of it outside of recovery, honestly, because it just seems like as time goes on, my memories change. And I'll have so many times that I'll be talking to my husband and he'll be like, that's totally not what I said. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I believe it because I've like completed the story in a different way based on how my life has changed since whatever event it is.
Yeah, is that what it means by saying fostering a positive identity?
So in recovery, this can be used to foster a positive identity. I don't really know, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, this is what my script says, but
reality, leading to a misconception about one's progress or challenges. I guess, like, maybe thinking about your past and, like, you have this, you're reconstructing the past to maybe make something more positive than it actually was.
That's, yeah, that's a great, so,
or the opposite.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think that I'm doing in stroke recovery is I'm looking back at things and I'm like, oh, I used to love to do that because I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, but you really
when really maybe I didn't like it as much as I thought I did.
Yeah. I'm thinking about this in a complete other way.
How are you thinking about it?
Like when I have arguments with people and I have this memory of something that maybe they didn't do anything wrong, but since I'm angry in the moment, I look back at something that person did and I'm reconstructing and thinking like, how could they do that when really there was no problem? I'm just angry in the moment.
Yeah.
That's how I thought about it.
Yeah. I was also thinking of something, but my mind went blank again. It's getting late. So my mind went blank again.
Positive identity. I've never, like...
This can be used to foster a positive identity. Anything on that?
Maybe, I guess an example for me would be, like, kind of how you were saying, like, things in our past that were very challenging and it was really maybe hard to go through, but looking back, like, making it through those challenges almost makes those challenges seem like, oh, what a time that was. Like, that was such a great time.
Yeah.
Like, I think about when I was playing high school soccer and terrible things that my coach would make me do, like conditioning.
No offense, coach.
Things. But, like, looking back, I'm like, that was such a great time, and I'm so thankful for all those things. Even though at the time it was terrible.
Yeah.
But I don't really know if that...
Yeah, that totally applies. I'm glad you saved the day on that one, because my mind's blank on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so imagination, what we're getting to here, folks, is that imagination can be beneficial in recovery and in life, as long as we remain self-aware. So always being conscious of what spin we're having on our thoughts and our imagination, what stories we're telling ourselves. They can be good, but sometimes they can be terrible. And making sure that we pause and ask ourselves if we're practicing constructive imaginations, a constructive imagination that is of value to us and can make things better for us, or if we're practicing emotional imagination. So while the imagination can offer incredible tools for healing and coping, if it's left unchecked and unguided, it can spiral into a detrimental mindset, like when you're driving on the highway and you start freaking out. Yeah. It can also lead to a relapse and regression in recovery if we don't just make sure that we pause and think about what direction our thoughts are going in. So it's important to cultivate a balanced approach where imagination is aligned with realistic goals, what's happening in the real world. And I don't mean the globe, just the world.
Just your
in your bubble. Yeah. In your bubble. And also aligned with the professional help that I'm seeking, making sure that My goals are, like, my thoughts and my imagination is aligned with the goals that I talk with my psychiatrist about and everything. So I'm working closely with her to keep me in check. And I love the idea of harnessing constructive powers of our imagination to rebuild and envision a hopeful future. My brain and my mouth are falling slowly apart while remaining firmly anchored in the realities of our progress and our challenges. So our imagination shapes our perception, and perception shapes our reality.
Bars.
What does that mean?
They'll get it.
Thank you for joining us today on Recovery Daily Podcast. Thank you, Bales.
Thanks for having me. First guest.
First guest. The first of many.
If anyone out there wants to be a guest on Rachel Abbasi's podcast, and wants their name to be dropped, the only way to have a name and face reveal is if you come over here. So if you feel yourself getting jealous,
you too can be a guest on my show. Thanks for joining us. Oh, if you want to, you can email me at rachel@recoverydailypodcast.com or find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. I just joined Reddit. And I think that's it. I think that's all I'm doing. Talk to you tomorrow.
Bye!
Let's see if it's still working.